In the previous video, we learned some 10 important questions and corresponding concepts from water demand and the sources of water supply. Now in this video, we are going to learn some important questions and concepts from water quality. Let's get into it. The first question is, which of the following is a minor source of TDS? TDS means total dissolved solids. So there are two types of sources, major and minor source, for contributing TDS value, total dissolved solids in a water. So what is the minor source among the four options? So option A, iron; option B, sodium chloride; option C, sulfate; option D, chlorine. So what is the minor source among the four options given here? There are two types of sources, major and minor source. So the correct option is option A, iron. Iron is a minor source of TDS, total dissolved solids. Now let's see what is the major source and what are the other minor sources. So you can see here major sources are sodium, calcium, magnesium, magnesium ion, or we can say iron as iron, sodium ion, calcium ion, magnesium ion is a bicarbonate, sulfate ion, chlorine ion. These are some of the examples for major sources. So that's why NaCl is one of the major sources given in the options. And what are the minor sources? Iron, potassium, carbonate, nitrates, fluoride, boron, silica. These are minor sources. So iron is a minor source for TDS. And what are the other important points? Acceptable limit of total dissolved solids in your drinking water shall be 500 milligram per liter, and in no case it can be more than 2000 milligram per liter. So TDS can be calculated by using electrical conductivity. So how it is calculated? TDS is equal to 0.65 into electrical conductivity, and that electrical conductivity has to be in micromole per centimeter, and 1 mho is nothing but 1 ampere per volt. So 1 mho, or we can say inverse of ohm. So 1 mho is nothing but 1 ampere per volt. So in case of electrical conductivity, we are doing to find the amount of TDS present in it. It has to be in micromole per centimeter at this 25 degrees Celsius temperature. So this is how we can calculate TDS value. Now let's move on to second question. Second question is based on pH of water, and what is the question? OH minus ions, that is hydroxyl ions may not be present in water if pH of water is option A greater than 9, option B less than 9, option C greater than 10, option C less than 10. So what is the pH of water when caustic ions may not be present? So it can be greater than 9 or less than 9, or greater than 10 or less than 10. So what is the pH range or pH limit below which or above which hydroxyl ions may not be present, or we can say caustic ions? The correct option is option B, it's less than 9. When pH is less than 9, OH ions, OH minus ions may not be present. Now let's see more about it. There are two major components that cause alkalinities. So what are those? Carbonate alkalinity, bicarbonate, and caustic. So caustic is nothing but OH minus. OH minus is the caustic alkalinity. So bicarbonate we know HCO3 to minus, carbonate CO3 to minus, HCO3 minus, CO3 to minus. So carbonate alkalinity, bicarbonate, and caustic alkalinities are there. And pH is given by using this formula. pH is found by using this formula. pH is equal to minus log base 10 H hydroxide ions. So hydrogen ion, log base 10 hydrogen ions. So hydrogen ions has to be in mole per liter, not in milligram per liter or anything. It should be in mole per liter. And how pH is found? Using potentiometer, or we can use color indicator, color matching technique. We can use that so that we can find the pH value. When we use methyl orange, the color change is noted as red to yellow when when it is used as acidic indicator. When for basic indicator, phenolphthalein is used, and color change is noted as colorless to pink. So this is the basic measurements for pH value. So what are the other things to be noted? Acidity causes corrosion, alkalinity causes incrustation of pipes, and difficulty in chlorination. Chlorination means it is nothing but disinfection. So difficulty in disinfection is caused by these alkalinities or basicity, we can say. pH permissible limit for drinking water shall be around 7 to 8.5 is the basic value, and in no case it can be more than 6.5 and it less than 9.6, 9.2. 9.2. It shall not be less than 9.2, or it cannot be more than 6.5. So this is how we have to proceed with. pH permissible limit for drinking water shall be typically like this only, 7 to 8.5. pH range for methyl orange is around 2.8 to 4.4, and for phenolphthalein it will be 8.6 to 10.3. So that's why phenolphthalein is a basic indicator. It has more than 7 pH value. Methyl orange is a acidic indicator. That's why it has less than 7 pH value. So 2.8 to 4.4. Now let's move on to third question. Now let's see the third question. Which cation imparts pseudo hardness in water? So this question is based on hardness. They have asked for which cation imparts pseudo hardness. What is pseudo hardness? It is a false hardness. That is, it cannot inhibit the hardness in water. So what is that cation? Option A sodium, option B iron, option C calcium, option D both sodium and iron. So what is the cation that imparts pseudo hardness or false hardness? Hardness is basically nothing but it related to soap formation. So in it, when there is hardness, soap or foam formation will not happen. So pseudo hardness is imparted by sodium. So if there is sodium in water, that cation does not inhibit, sorry, that does not impart hardness. So that's why it is called as pseudo hardness in water. It should not be mistaken that because of not not inhibiting the soap formation, we cannot say sodium existing the hardness. Sodium is not existing, it's not imparting the hardness in water. So that's why it is called pseudo hardness. So let's see more about hardness. Hardness is nothing but provided by concentration of multivalent metallic cations. So hardness is imparted by multivalent metallic cations. So what are those metallic cations? This calcium 2 plus, magnesium 2 plus, Al3 plus. These are some multivalent metallic cations that impart hardness in water. So there are two hardness: temporary hardness, permanent hardness. Temporary hardness means carbonate hardness, and that can be removed by simple boiling. Non-carbonate hardness are permanent hardness that can be removed by using some techniques like zeolite, ion exchange, like that. So carbonate hardness are caused by these carbonates and bicarbonates of calcium and magnesium. In case of non-carbonate hardness, these are caused by chlorine, sulfate, nitrates of these cations, metallic cations. And how it is calculated? By using Versenate solution and EDTA method. So these two are some important points regarding hardness. British degree of hardness is equal to 14.25 milligram per liter. When it comes to American degree of hardness, it is equal to 17.12 milligram per liter. Total hardness is calculated by using this formula. Total hardness is equal to Mg2 plus into equivalent weight of CaCO3 is nothing but 50. Equivalent weight of CaCO3 is 50, 50 divided by equivalent weight of Mg2 plus. Mg2 plus, what is that? 12. Because Mg atomic weight is 24. So two valence atoms. So that's why 24 by 2 gives 12 as answer. In case of calcium, equivalent weight of CaCO3 is 50, so no doubt about it. For calcium, it is 40, 40 by 2, 20. So this is how we have to um, calculate the equivalent weights. In case we are finding the hardness in terms of milligram per liter as CaCO3. Now let's move on to fourth question. Fourth question is based on some metal impurities consisting imparted in water. Higher quantities of copper. Here they are discussing about the copper when it contains more than 2.5 milligram per liter that may cause diseases pertaining to whether it is kidneys or lungs. Option C arsenic. Option D liver. So if higher quantities of copper present in drinking water, then it causes diseases related to what? What is that? Argon. So the answer is option B, lungs. So lungs diseases caused by copper, higher quantities of copper. Now let's see some other toxic metals. Toxic metals are such as arsenic, cadmium, chromium, cyanide, lead, mercury. These are some of the toxic metals that has to be absent in a drinking water, and maximum permissible limit is given in brackets. For example, for arsenic, it shall not be greater than 0.01 milligram per liter. When it comes to useful metals, copper is a useful metal, but it shall not be greater than 1.5 milligram per liter. Calcium, it can be maximum 75 milligram per liter, and sulfate, zinc. So zinc, these are some useful metals that will be helpful for health of human body. And when it comes to fluorides, it shall be around 1 to 1.5 milligram per liter. When it is present less than 1, then there will be dental cavities caused. When it is greater than 1.5 milligram per liter, then there will be fluorosis, bone fluorosis, or some teeth problems will be there. And another one, molybdenum. Higher concentration of molybdenum cause phytotoxicity. So these are some of the useful and toxic metals present in water and the corresponding permissible limits. Now let's move on to fifth question. Fifth question is related to turbidity. Turbidity is measured on which scale? Option A, standard silica. Option B, standard cobalt. Option C, standard platinum. Option D, platinum cobalt. So which is the standard scale that is used to measure turbidity? So what time starts now? Just think about it. Standard silica, standard cobalt, standard platinum, platinum cobalt. So which is the correct scale to measure turbidity? Correct option is option A, standard silica. So standard silica is the scale which is used to measure turbidity. Now let's see more about turbidity. So actual definition goes like this. Turbidity of 1 milligram of finely divided silica produced in 1 liter of distilled water. So finely divided silica produced in 1 liter of distilled water is known as 1 unit of turbidity. Is known as the 1 unit of turbidity. So permissible limit as per IS code. What is that? 5 to 10 ppm in a drinking domestic water. Domestic water turbidity shall be around 5 to 10 ppm only. So there are two methods to determine the turbidity value, based on absorption, one method, and another one is based on scattering. So based on absorption, turbidity rod and Jackson turbidity meter works. And based on scattering, Bailey's turbidity meter and Leflow meter works. So these are two basic methods based on absorption and scattering. And Jackson turbidity meter is used to find turbidity of greater than 25 ppm only. So but permissible limit is very less than 25, that is 5 to 10 ppm only. So it can be inferred that Jackson turbidity meter is not applicable to find turbidity for domestic water or drinking water. So that's why we are going to nephelometer, NTU, nephelometer turbidity units. So in that nephelometer, Pharmazine is used instead of silica. Actually, standard silica scale is used to measure turbidity, but in case of NTU, Pharmazine is used instead of silica. So unit can be termed as FTU also, Pharmazine turbidity units. So these are about turbidity. Now let's see some more parameters like color and taste and odor. Color is given by one TCU, that is one true color unit, that is equal to 1 milligram per liter of platinum in form of chloroplatinate. This is the actual definition. Or we can say in Hazen units, that will be measured by using Burger scale by Nessler's tubes. So these are some of the measurement techniques that will be used to find the intensity of color in a drinking water. Spectrophotometry is used for industrial effluents, not for domestic purposes. And if it comes to taste and odor, osmoscope is used to find odor measurements, and TON is nothing but threshold odor number, and that will be given by using this formula A plus B by A. A plus B is nothing but diluted sample, and A is nothing but the raw sample, raw water that is collected from the source. So A plus B by A gives some value, and that value shall be in this range 1 to 3 for drinking or domestic water. So these are about the some parameters, some physical quality parameters used to find the quality of water. Now let's move on to sixth question. Sixth question is based on Winkler's method. Winkler's method is nothing but it is used to determine what? Dissolved oxygen. Now they have asked for the reagents. So option A, 2 ml manganese sulfate. Option B, 2 ml alkali iodide azide. Option C, 2 ml starch solution. Option D, sodium thiosulfate. So what are the reagents? Yeah, it is a MSQ type question. So more than one options are correct. This is the MSQ type question. More than one option can be correct. So what are the reagents? Reagents used in Winkler's method to determine the amount of dissolved oxygen. So what is the use of dissolved oxygen? It is used in freshwater lakes to the survival of organism. Whenever there is presence of DO, that means BOD is nil. So here the reagents used in Winkler's method are option A, 2 ml manganese sulfate, option B, 2 ml alkali iodide azide, also correct, option C also correct, option D also correct. So all the four options are correct. All the four options are related to the reagents used in Winkler's method. Now let's see more about this Winkler's method. So it is used to determine DO concentration in freshwater system, and when it comes to experiment, a 300 ml glass bottle, so a 300 ml glass BOD bottle is taken, in which the raw water sample is poured up to the brim level, and then manganese sulfate Manganese sulfate is added to the collection bottle by inserting the calibrated pipette. So pipette out the manganese sulfate just below the surface of the liquid. And then we have to add alkali iodide azide reagent. So first manganese sulfate is added, and then alkali iodide azide reagent is also added in the same manner, that is pipetting out this reagent and adding it, and the sample is mixed by inverting it several times. So sample is now mixed. If oxygen is present, then this flock like this will be formed. So you can see in this bottle, flock like this will be formed if oxygen is present. If dissolved oxygen is there, then flock like this will be formed. It will be some brownish orange in color. Brownish orange cloud of precipitate will be appeared, and then we have to add a drop of concentrated sulfuric acid. So concentrated sulfuric acid is added. So at this point, sample is fixed and can be stored for up to 8 hours. So we have to leave the sample for 8 hours and in a cool dark place. In a cool dark place, we have to leave the sample for 8 hours after adding concentrated H2SO4 sulfuric acid. After that, after 8 hours, the sample is then titrated with sodium thiosulfate as titrant. So sodium thiosulfate used as titrant to titrate the sample. Okay. Uh, when is the titration will get over? When the color becomes pale straw. So when the color becomes pale straw color, then the titration is stopped. Then we have to add starch solution. So starch solution is added so a blue color forms. So titration is done until the sample turns clear. So this is how we have to do the experiments. So concentration of dissolved oxygen in the sample is equivalent to the number of milliliters of titrant used. So how many ml of titrants used, that is sodium thiosulfate, is equivalent to the amount of dissolved oxygen, concentration of dissolved oxygen. So each ml of sodium thiosulfate added in steps like when titration is done, that equals to 1 milligram per liter of dissolved oxygen. So this is the step-by-step procedure in Winkler's method. Now let's move on to seventh question. This is a problem type question, numerical answer type question. A water contains dissolved ions. They have given concentration of some of the dissolved ions. First one is sodium ion 56 milligram per liter, and then calcium ion 40, magnesium 30, aluminum 3 milligram per liter, bicarbonate 190, chlorine 165 milligram per liter. We have to find total hardness. Option A TH, total hardness is 242 milligram per liter. Option B NCH, non-carbonate hardness is 0. Option B total hardness 86 milligram per liter. Option C NCH 86 milligram per liter. So among the four options, two options are correct. What are those? One is TH and one for NCH. One is total hardness and one is for NCH. We have to find both the things. So we have already we have already discussed the formula for total hardness. So by using that total hardness formula, we can find the total hardness, and by using alkalinity concept, we can find NCH value. So these two options are correct. So option A, TH is equal to 242 milligram per liter, and NCH, that is non-carbonate hardness, is 86 milligram per liter. Now let's see how it is calculated. So this is the formula. Total hardness is given by this formula. Here one thing has to be added. What is that? Aluminium. Because they have given the concentration for aluminium as 3 milligram per liter. Though it is negligible, but it is significant when we are calculating with accurate values. So aluminium concentration is 3 milligram per liter. So we have to adopt aluminium metal because it's a metallic ion. Multivalent metallic cation. So that's why in the total hardness calculation, aluminum is taken into consideration into equivalent weight of CaCO3, that is 50. For aluminum, atomic weight is 27. Valence is valence is 3, so 27 by 3 9. So that's why here we have used 9. So 30 into 50 by 12 plus 40 into, here they have given 40. For magnesium is 30. In the question we can refer. Equivalent weight of CaCO3 is 50 divided by equivalent weight of Ca2 plus 20, and in case of aluminum 3 into 50 by 9. So on calculating this value, we can get the answer as 242 milligram per liter as CaCO3. So first option is correct. Now let's move on to calculate NCH value. For calculating NCH value, we need alkalinity. So what is alkalinity? Alkalinity is imparted by carbonates and bicarbonates and hydroxyl ions or caustic ions. Here only one alkalinity is given. What is that? Bicarbonate. It is given as 190. So 190 into 50 by 61. What is 61? Equivalent weight of bicarbonate. These values has to be remembered actually, or we can calculate, but it is fair when we remember the values. For bicarbonate, equivalent weight is 61. So 190 into 50 by 61 gives 156 as answer. So carbonate hardness is given by minimum of total hardness and alkalinity. So what is total hardness? 242. Alkalinity is 156. So minimum of those two things gives the carbonate hardness. And the difference between total hardness and carbonate hardness gives the answer for non-carbonate hardness. So 86 milligram per liter. So option D is correct for non-carbonate hardness. This is how we have to proceed with hardness concept and alkalinity concept. Now let's move on to 8th question. So 8th question is based on some test. Which one of the following tests employs ferroin indicator? Option A COD, option B ammonia nitrogen, option C fluoride, option D hardness. So what is the option? What is the test that employs ferroin as indicator? Whether it is chemical oxygen demand or ammonia nitrogen or fluoride or hardness. So the correct option or the correct test is option A COD. Now let's see more about this chemical oxygen demand. First, how ferroin is prepared? Ferroin is prepared by combining phenanthroline to ferrous sulfate. So when we combine phenanthroline and ferrous sulfate in water, we get ferroin. So that will be used as an indicator in chemical oxygen demand analysis, COD analysis. In the COD analysis, we use oxidizing agent. Uh, we use potassium dichromate as oxidizing agent K2Cr2O7, and the catalyst is nothing but silver sulfate AgSO4, and we use sulfuric acid as acidic medium, and the titrant is ferrous ammonium sulfate, so FAS. So these are some of the most important things that to be remembered in case of in case of COD analysis. So this is how in this illustration we can get the COD analysis, how it is found. First sample plus oxidizing agent plus sulfuric acid. This test tubes has to be placed in a heating block, and then it has to be heated for 140 degrees Celsius about an hour, and then we can find the value for COD based on the amount of titrant used, that is ferrous ammonium sulfate. So this is how we have to calculate, and this diagram refers to the hardness color matching technique. It's a modern hardness color matching technique. This is how we have to find the hardness. Now let's move on to ninth question. The most important water quality parameter for domestic use of water is option A dissolved oxygen, option B coliform, option D BOD COD, option D hardness. So what is the most important water quality parameter that to be checked before consumption of drinking water? This is an easy question and most likely to be asked also. So the most important water quality parameter is actually coliform. Okay. Option B, I think. Option B is correct one. Coliform is the most important water quality parameter that has to be checked before the consumption. Why? Because no drinking water shall contain pathogen. It should be pathogen free, and the coliform index should be nil. So that's why disinfection is the most important treatment in case of treatment of domestic water. So on proceeding with the disinfection, there will be no pathogen. So that's why coliform index is nil. Now let's move on to last question. 10th question is, it's based on BOD versus time graph. It's a new concept, a new concept for examinations. In the previous examination, it is not asked. BOD versus time data is obtained as Y2. Y2 means BOD at 2 days, 10 milligram per liter. At 4 days, it is 16, and at 6 days, it is 20 milligram per liter. So we have to construct a graph using these three data by using this formula, BOD versus time graph. After constructing the graph, we will get the graph like this only. For this graph, they have given us b-intercept, that is b-intercept as 0.545 and the slope as 0.021. Now we have to calculate the oxygenation coefficient and the ultimate BOD. So 4 options are there. Among the 4 options, 2 options are correct for one for KD, that is deoxygenation coefficient, and the ultimate BOD value. So what is the correct options? What are the correct options regarding K and L values? There are 2 formulas actually to get the answers based on this graph. So the correct options are B and C. B and C are correct options. Now let's see how it is calculated. So calculation goes like this. K is given by 2.61 into M by B. What is M? It is slope value. What is B? It is y-intercept. This is a y-intercept value. This is the slope value. They have given both the values in the question itself. Actually, we have to find these two values by using three BOD values that they have given, y2, y4, y6. But in this question, they have given both the values for B and M respectively. And by substituting these two values in this formula, we can get the answer for K, that is deoxygenation coefficient value. And in case of ultimate BOD, this formula has to be used. L is equal to 1 by 2.3 kb cube. So K we have found as 0.10056 per day. B is nothing but 0.545. So by substituting these two values in this formula, we get the answer as 26.27 milligram per liter for ultimate BOD, that is denoted by L or L naught, anything. So these two are important formulas based on this graph, that is time versus BOD graph. When y-axis T by BOD per 1 by 3 or cube root. In the x-axis, times it shall be in days, and slope is denoted by M, intercept is denoted by B. And by using these two values, we can find the K value. K is equal to 2.61 into M by B, and L is equal to 1 by 2.3 kb cube. So this is how we have to find the answers for BOD versus time graph. Now we are at the end of this video. If you like this video, please like, comment, share with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe the channel. Thank you.